Welcome to the Long Thread podcast about spinning, stitching, and weaving by hand. The podcast is presented by Long Thread Media, publishers of Spin-Off, Handwoven, Piecework, and Little Looms magazines. Find us online at longthreadmedia.com. Trinway Silks is where weavers, spinners, knitters, and stitchers find the silk they love. Select from the largest variety of silk spinning fibers, silk yarn, and silk threads and ribbons at trinwaysilks.com. You'll discover a rainbow of colors thoughtfully hand-dyed in Colorado. Love natural? Trinway's array of wild silks provide choices beyond white. If you love silk, you'll love Trinway Silks, where superior quality and customer service are guaranteed. The Michigan Fiber Festival, Michigan's largest sheep and wool festival, is a vibrant world of fiber arts. Discover 5 days of classes with nationally recognized teachers in spinning, weaving, lace-making, dyeing, felting, and rug hooking. Enjoy 3 days of shopping, delight in shearing and fiber arts demonstrations, and enjoy a truly immersive experience. Join us in August at the picturesque Allegan County Fairgrounds. You can even camp on site. Find more details at michiganfiberfestival.info. I'm your host, Long Thread Media co-founder Ann Marrow. Loretta Pettway Bennett learned to quilt from her family in the renowned fiber art community of Gee's Bend, Alabama. Her work has appeared in dozens of museum exhibitions, as well as U.S. embassies worldwide. Loretta was recently awarded a 2026 Award in Craft from the Maxwell Hanrahan Foundation. Loretta, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You recently won a major award for your work as a quilt artist, but working with quilts is something that you have been doing for many years. Can you tell me a little bit about your work as a quilt maker and a quilt artist and a quilt tradition bearer?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been doing it for over 50 years now, because I started when I was really young. And I made my first quilt when I was 12 years old. I started off threading needle for my mom, and then picking up little pieces here and there and sewing them together. And so at 12, one summer, I decided to make this quilt all by hand. I cut out all the pieces. It was an octagon-shaped pattern called a flower garden. And so it was kind of challenging for a 12-year-old, but I tackled it. And so just making quilts had been in my blood, I think. I was born, you wanted to do it, looked like, since I've been doing it so long. But yeah, the process of it is just using what you got laying around. You don't have to have a whole lot of fabric. I mostly go to thrift stores, and friends give me clothing and whatever, people don't own anymore. I try and use recycle things around me. So, yeah.
One of the things that I think is really interesting is that you're sort of doing what you have always been called to do. And this idea of a trend of like making, do, and mending as a very contemporary, fashionable, meaningful activity. You've been doing this thing all along, and now all of a sudden people are air quotes discovering it.
Yeah. So, so with me, it's normal, just like almost like eating every day or
right.
Drinking. So it's just been something that I always did.
And when you say we, you're a member of quite a storied, famous quilting tradition.
Yes, I am. So I'm a 5th generation quilter. Mm-hmm. And so my sister, she sews and quilts, my aunts, my cousins. So we got quite a friends that I'm not related to that live there. So we just all we all sew. So, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're all kind of doing it together, or many times you're working on it together, but is each person sort of working on their own project?
Yes. And more so today. Mm-hmm. We all make, like they did back in the day. They made their own tops, the top part that you see, but they got together to quilt it. Now today, sometimes we get together after we have made our top portion, and we'll get together and quilt. Like me and my sister sometimes, we'll quilt together. and other would do the same. Or if we got a big project or a demonstration, we'll get together and quilt. But mostly we work individually, mostly by ourselves, not like we used to go from house to house in little groups. So it's more, I guess you could say, more independent of, of the little group that used to be.
And this is all hand stitching. There's nobody running home to use their sewing machine or anything like that, right?
Well, today, since we got sewing machine, it's a lot faster to make the top. So most of us use sewing machine to make the top, but we all do the hand quilting part by hand. We have a few ladies that do it all by hand. They make the
Wow.
top by hand and they do the quilting by hand. So yeah. Mhm.
So this is very much tied to this particular place for you, but you have yourself traveled quite a bit, and your quilts have also traveled quite a bit. So I'm interested in the connection between seeing things around the world, but also always having this strong connection to a place that you're from.
Yes. When I first got married and left home, I took quilts with me and went to Germany. And so it was, you can imagine, from Alabama to Germany, traveling with my husband in the Army. And everybody's, well, not everybody, but Germany, they speak a different language.
Yep.
So that was very isolating for me. Picked up a few words here and there, but I went to quilting
Mhm.
and that connected me back to home. And it made me felt I was comforted by that, picking up something, sewing it together. So it was like I was in circle with my family, with my mom, my grandmother, and aunties. So
Do you think that your work changed at all based on where you were visiting? Do you feel like you kind of like a quilt picked up a little piece and put it in?
I would have to say no.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you stayed true to yourself, yeah.
Yes, stay true to myself. Even now, when I go and see other different kinds of quilts now at the big quilt shows, I admire them, look at them, enjoy looking at them. But when I go back to my home or surrounding, I just go back to the G's being way I don't change my way because I seen something else. Yeah.
But at the same time, you have made big quilts out of blue jeans, for example. So that's a more contemporary piece of fabric. So it's not just that you're following a style that's historic, but that you're kind of paying attention to your own. I'm putting words in your mouth, I'm sorry. But so you're following your own taste?
Yes, yes, I'm following my own taste. If I see something that I like, just say, for instance, if I go to a thrift store and I see something really a bright color that I want, so I'll go with that. Don't use a lot of prints, hardly use any prints really. So I love colors. I always wanted to be a painter when I was growing up. So I used to, with my little money that I earned, I used to buy paint by numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, so that's what I wanted to do. But since I couldn't, I kind of gave up that idea and decided to you just make quilts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I do. In the last 10 years, I have started paint, but I don't. I paint quilts. I paint my quilts that I made, or my mom quilts, and so I do that. So look like I well, I followed that dream.
Yeah. When you go to a thrift store or when you are choosing fabric, what are you looking for? You mentioned bright colors, but what else makes something a really good fabric or not such a good fabric?
Ah, it has to be something that's well. I look when I'm in a thrift store. It's something that someone loved, and I
Mm.
would like to put it in to a quilt that hopefully someone would love the quilt, like that person loved that pair of blue jeans or that skirt, something like that. So yeah, I'm looking for something that looked like it was well loved.
Mm.
Can be patches in it or knee, where the knees have been worn out or it got stains on it. So I'm looking for something well loved.
I love that you could have something that was mended that then goes on to be part of another piece of art. So
Yeah.
yeah. Materials have changed so much, and thinking about blue jeans, so many pairs of blue jeans these days they have different amounts of stretch in them and things like that. And I was just curious if it makes you work with the fabrics any differently.
Yes, because it's with the stretchable, they're more softer. And then there's some blue jeans, like I won't call the name, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, but there are some that are more harder. But still, sometimes I would put those two together, the ones that don't stretch, don't give any, and that would cause the quilt to come out unevenly. They come out uneven anyway, but that would cause them to come out even more uneven when I stretch them to get ready to quilt them because you're pulling and trying to make them tight. So yeah, I think back then they used everything, and so it didn't matter if it was double knit or 100% denim or cotton. They just put it all together, and it worked. It worked.
It's interesting you mentioned about them not being even. And sometimes I have a colleague who's a quilter. He's very oriented to things like right angles and straight lines and matching things up, which is great if for precision and things like that. But one of the things I notice about some of your quilts and some of your family's quilts is that they have a little bit more three-dimensional or a less rigid square element to them.
Yes, yeah, just about all of them. But back then they didn't have really. Some of them didn't have scissors, so they would have to use a knife to cut, or they, did the tearing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you let me and my sister used the word let the quilt make itself, in a sense, where with the clothing, the pants legs, I don't try to square them off or make them even. I cut some off, but I just let the quilt make itself. And yeah, so once you put it on the bed, you don't care about it being even. You just want it to cover you. So, and we still make them the same. And we have more fun sewing them and working with them because we're not worried about the rule of this point hitting up. So I worked with a lot of quilters, had a Canes G's being because I do vacation with an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and they have so much fun when they don't have to worry about the points meeting up,
Mm-hmm.
and they create some wonderful pieces when they can let go of that rule of matching things up. Or this color don't go with this color, or you know, or this fabric type and this fabric type don't go together.
Certainly, if you're making quilts out of fabric that has seen a previous life, I certainly know from trying to fold my jeans, there is nothing straight line about folding a pair of jeans once you've worn it.
Yeah,
We don't live in a straight line world.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, people are not perfect, families, and we are all one. As you think, you're all one, no matter what, like the fabric are. It does the same.
Mm-hmm.
It cover you, it protects you from the cold or heat or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it works together. And we're good. It'd be good if people work like fabric.
Isn't it interesting how cloth and fabric and thread, they work really well in this literal sense of keeping you warm, but there's always this sort of metaphorical element to it. You can always have a story that goes along with a piece of cloth.
Working with my sister-in-law, Marlene, I was married to her brother, And something that she says about material and cloth and put things together, the colors and different fabrics together. And she would say they are just like family. When we are making a quilt, it's it's like family. Because that's what the women did. They got together. They was family, friends in their quilting circle. And sometimes they fuss and fight, and sometimes you put different colors together, and it makes you have to put a mediator in there to break the fight up, so to speak. And so and so that's what now when I'm looking at fabric things that I'm using, I think of them as family because that person wore this and person was a family member. You put them together and they work. Sometimes they don't get along, but they still love each other. And I think about that as being in the world. I wish fabric was like people. People was like fabric, should I say. You could just put them all together, the colors and different textures, and they work and they get along. All you got to do is just talk to them, and that's what the colors do. The colors
Yeah.
talk to each other, yeah, and they get along. So,
So how do you think that you found your own style? How do you think when you started making quilts and you were working with people that you've known your whole lives and they have their own styles, how do you think you said, well, I'm going to do it a little differently like this?
I think at first I started out trying to stick with this rule of making things match and using certain colors that goes together or not go together. And so I think when I didn't like it because when I used to come home, my auntie Lucy, she can make anything that you put in front of her, she can make it. But she was one of those that it had to match up. The stitches had to be just so right. And I bucked against that. I did it, but I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. And I think when I really just found my own, what I liked, I think was in the early 2000s. I just decided, hey, I'm going to just enjoy making things. I'm not going to make it like a pattern. I'm going to make it like I want to make it, and I want and have fun with it. And which I did. I put on music. I stopped. I danced. I drew it out. I colored it the same color that the fabrics or pieces that I had found in the thrift store. I think that's when I really found my niche or my creativity, and just went with it, and so and ever since I did that, I just enjoy it more.
Now, you make some quilts as commissions now, right?
Yes, I do.
So how does it work when you're doing something that's kind of on behalf of somebody else but has your own taste? Do you say just I'm the artist and this is what it's going to be like?
Yes, we had someone that we was working with, and they wanted us to make it a certain way, and I was like, no, it's not gonna be. You want me to make it, but you want to tell me how to make it. So it's not truly me, it's not truly my piece. And so once they gave us the freedom to just do it the way we wanted to do it, and then when they saw the end product, they loved it. And so I have turned down some jobs because they wanted a certain way, but then I want to make it my way.
Mhm.
And but yeah, if you tell me some colors that you like, and just let me have the power over creating it, I
Mhm.
think you will love it. Mhm.
Yeah. You mentioned that you sort of found your own style probably in the early 2000s. Another thing that kind of happened in the early 2000s was, once again, something that had been going on for years, for generations, but I think there was a major exhibit of the G-Span quilts around that time, right? And so
Yeah.
all of a sudden it became this famous,
Mhm.
iconic quilting tradition. What was that like to be working during that time?
Oh wow, it was fantastic. At first, I couldn't wrap my head around it because I went to the very first opening, and I was blown away with seeing the quilts on the wall, and everyone was just oohing and ahhing, and some people were just crying, and I was like, "What? What is going on?" All I see this quilt that my mom made that we used to lay on the floor on, and people are calling it art. Went to several shows or exhibition, and I just started looking at the quilts. I'm like, I got to look at these quilts and study these quilts and see what they are seeing. And so the more I looked at the quilt, the more I started seeing what they saw in the quilts. And I was like, wow, these are like paintings, these are art. And the women had no idea that they was making this art, but they were just using what they had. And I guess they were just in their mind with that freedom of just using what you got and placing the color where you want to. Unbeknownst to them, they were making art
Yeah.
with it. I
Mhm.
saw a quote about art, and it said that art is not what you see, but what you make others see. And so, and I, when I saw that quote in the early mid 2005 or six around that time, and I was like, oh, that is so true. You know, I can
Mm.
make something and not see what you might see. We can have the same picture in front of us, same landscape, but we all see something different. And so that's what my quilts, I hope, do for people when they look at them. They see something that I
Yeah.
don't see.
And you see something that others don't see when you look at a pile of fabric.
Oh yes, definitely.
I remember first reading about one of those exhibits. There was this sense of history about it, this sense of generations. And you mentioned that your mother and your grandmother were also quilters. And it's really special to have kind of a living tradition like that, something where, yes, we know who made it, but also it's still growing, it's still evolving.
Uh, yeah. At first, I did not I took it for granted. Most people get the family have something to lead to them, a legacy. It may be money, it may be jewelry or something. And so a lot of us took it for granted that our mother left us with this wonderful legacy or tradition of making quilts. And we get to pass it on now to our children and their children and on and on. And they keep passing it on. And that's what a lot of us have seen now, that this is something that we must continue. Because as long as you got people living, you're going to need some kind of covering. You're going to need something that you look at and say, oh, that is so pretty. If it's art, if it's covering, it's going to always be that need for that. We are so blessed to have that tradition or legacy passed on to us so that we can pass it on. And with that history also.
So you learned how to do this when you were very small. Are there people that you're teaching? Are there children in the community that your children in your family who are learning to do this?
Oh, yes, yes, the young ones are. And we just had a kid workshop for the community and surrounded community around G's Bend this past Saturday.
Oh,
Which this was the fourth one that we have started since the Freedom Quilting Bee
hmm,
reopened, and we want to pass that on to the kids. Some that their parents may not necessarily know how to sew, or maybe they just don't sew because their grandmother not around or their great grandmother not around to teach them. Most parents now are just, everybody has to work just about.
right.
And so we are trying to teach the young ones in that community how that legacy need to be continued, need not be forgotten just because you can go to a store and buy something to cover up with.
Right.
when you can make it yourself.
Right. Time is so precious and expensive these days that
Mm-hmm.
in a way making something by hand it's pretty luxurious.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned the Freedom Quilting Bee. What's that?
The Freedom Quilting Bee is a building where these women got together, and in the early '60s, they started it out of their homes. And the mid '60s, they uh, got together and started a cooperative called the Freedom Quilting Bee. And so this was a place that the women can go to, and the first place that they can go to and make money. Even though when they first got started, they didn't make a whole lot of money. They sometimes they worked weeks without getting anything, and when they did get it, it was very little until it got better and better after years went by.
Mm.
But it was the first and only black cooperative in Alabama, and I think in the whole United States. It was, I think, in 1966 when it got started, and so they was making things, making quilts for Bloomingdale and J.C. Penney's and Sears and Macy's, and
Wow.
yeah, but the quilts had to be the quilts and craft things that they did make, they had to be precise. The stitching had to be very small. And so some of the women's couldn't work there because their stitching was too long. Or some didn't know how to use those big sewing machines and things like that. It closed down in 2012, finally, but it was reopened and got back running in 2021, I believe. And so we've been trying to continue the tradition of keeping it going, and so that the young ones and some that are not so young know about what the Women's and G's being started in Alberta and other areas that are around there. That was an amazing thing to do, black women with an eighth grade education to start up a business like that during that time, during the civil rights movement
Right.
also.
I was just thinking that about the people who never knew what they had.
Mm-hmm.
You would buy a quilt from Bloomingdale's and not realize
Mm-hmm.
that the hands who made that were these hands who were being put in these little boxes in a way, but that's who was making them. Just all the ones out in the world that people never knew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So something else you mentioned that kind of is a community gathering is the airing of the quilts. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, the airing of the quilt. So during the fall of the year, where I have to say the spring of the year and the fall of the year, we used to air out our quilts. For the fall of the year, you get the quilts back out that you have packed away because you don't need them during the summer month. And so, and we would hang them out and get them freshened up by the sun and the air. And also, when we made a quilt or finished a quilt, we would put it out on the line. So we had our own little exhibition in a sense.
Yep.
When
Yep.
people passed by there, they saw the quilt, and some would say, "Oh, can you teach me how to make this quilt? Teach me this pattern, or give me this pattern." And so, yeah, so that's what the airing of the quilt is about. And the festival is once in the community and also outside the community. We also have a lot of quilters that lives in other states, and so they're continuing making quilts, and so they come back to G's Bend and they hang their quilts out. Some in the front yard of their houses, and some in an area, a big field like area in front of the Welcome Center there in G's Bend. And people come from all over, and they come to look, to buy, to eat. What it is,
Yeah.
a festival of quilts,
Hmm.
to see all those colors and smell all the good food that is being cooked. Yeah.
Although I don't know, all the good food next to those quilts, you might have to air them again when the festival's over.
Well, we kind of put the food all in an area, away from the quilts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So they won't smell like fried fish. Yeah.
Yeah, it smells good the first day, but not so good the second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, what are you working on now? Do you have a quilt in progress?
Oh my goodness. I am not working on a quilt now.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished up with Vacation with an Artist last
Mm-hmm.
week. And Vacation with an Artist is where other artists come in, want to learn the way that we make quilts and just learn about the history and just come and spend a week with us, almost like a retreat of a sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm working on several little pieces that I got. I'm trying to quilt up all the pieces that I've made, getting ready for airing of the quilts. I'm in the process of making little bags now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so out of denim and other
Yeah.
denim is my favorite. So
Mm-hmm.
I like the material is strong. It'll
Yeah.
last like forever. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'm working on, little tote bags now.
Yeah, denim is great stuff.
Hmm.
That indigo that,
Yeah.
just fades
Mm-hmm.
and is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So, do you have people regularly come and learn about quilting from you? And I'm curious what a class is like.
Oh well. Uh, the first 6 months of the year, we had classes, workshops. And the last 3 months of the year, we're gonna be doing people come, other artists come in and we teach them, we show them how we lay out a quilt, how we hand quilt the quilt, and just talk about family growing up in G-Spin and some of the things that we did. We found out that some of the things we have in common, and it's a week long thing process, and they get the chance to visit other quilters. Sometimes other quilters come in, drop in, and talk, and they get to see how they do, or how they make their quilts.
Mhm.
So, and other quilters in the area also. We have workshops at the Quilting Bee every third Saturday of the month, except for October and June, and we have retreats. I think it's like 3 or 4 times a year, a week long retreat, and where other quilters come in. And sometimes we get people that have never sewn anything
Hmm.
that comes in, and when they leave, they know how to sew, and so by hand and by sewing machine. So yeah, and we have some that have left, went back home, bought a sewing machine, and made a quilt and did all the hand stitching and all of that. And it's wonderful teaching people, especially when they got a passion for it, or just want to pick up a learn something different.
What a gift to be able to go from not knowing how to sew to being able to sew and quilt. There's something about the thread passing through the fabric. It's kind of useful and special.
Special, yeah, and it's therapeutic. We had actually the last Vacation with an Artist guest. She brought her husband along, and so he wasn't going to do the workshop, or he wasn't scheduled to do the workshop. But he tagged along. Well, I invited him. I said, "Come on, you're gonna be bored at the house, so you can come on if you want to listen to women's talk and all of this." So he was there, very quiet, and I thought about it. I said, "Hey, you can learn. You know how to sew, you know." And he never didn't know how to do anything, and so just threading the needle, just looking at him thread the needle, it was kind of like when we started. It was
Hmm.
hard at first, and tying the knot and all of that. So all the steps that we learned when we was growing up, and when he left, he was someone. He was handling the needle really good. So he said he was going to continue. He was just over there, just like us, just stitch
Yeah.
after stitch. And it's very therapeutic.
Do you have plans what you're going to do with this award?
Yes, I would like to make a coloring book.
Hmm.
My quilts young and old can get in color in. I'm going back to my childhood when I wanted to be a painter.
Right.
So I'm thinking about a coloring book or and puzzles.
Hmm.
So I would like to do that. So that's what I plan to do with the award, to make a coloring book
Yeah.
for kids. And old one
I
too.
think a coloring book sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
You'd have to get so many different colors of pencils, though, to just do it
Yeah.
justice.
Oh yeah.
Loretta, I have so enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations not only on this award, but also on your amazing body of work.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And hopefully you'll see my coloring book soon.
I will look forward to it. Thanks to our sponsors for supporting the podcast. Thank you for listening to the Long Thread Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate the show and leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Thanks again.